Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it is time for our favorite video of each and every weekday that we're bringing you these player props on a Friday to end this first week of the regular season here. Nate, definitely want to make sure you're liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us. We've got a couple other game videos up for you today on this pretty big Friday night slate. Also want you to head to thelines.com, have all of our great content up there for you guys all season long, and our odds finder tool that Nate and I are definitely using each and every day that we're making those NBA pick shopping the lines to the best of our ability across those U.S. sportsbook. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into our first prop of the day. We're going to, just to be clear, as we kick things off to you guys, we're bringing you about 4 of these each day. Sometimes Nate feels a little bit better about a couple as well, and we'll get 5 or 6 in there for you. But we do have 4 good ones for you today, Nate. So let's kick off your first prop here.
Yeah, I wish we had talked a little bit more about Jaylen Brown in our preseason videos. I don't really know what the market is in terms of his awards, though. I mean, maybe at third team all NBA, but I mean, he's on pace for just a monster season. And the one thing he had to work on that we could see in the playoffs was his handle, and he's clearly put in a lot of work on that, and he looks very, very good right now in the preseason, just blowing through defenses. Dropped 35 alongside Tatum in the opener. And his prop is still pretty low at 23.5 points plus money. I'm only counting on him to score. I think he still has a lot of room for growth as a playmaker, and the Celtics don't necessarily count on his rebounding as much, which is strange. He is a good rebounder, but against the Heat, I mean, he has put up numbers across the board, but just looking at his scoring, his last 7 regular season, 24.1 points per game, 45-42 splits on 29% usage. His last 7 playoff games in that Eastern Conference Finals, 24.1 points per game, 49% from the floor, 40% from deep. And the Heat are looking worse defensively, as you might expect, with Tyler Herro entering the starting lineup, with PJ Tucker gone, with Kyle Lowry 1 step closer to retirement, and Max Strus forced to play 31 minutes to give them something on offense as well. We saw DeMar DeRozan go off for 37 points on 14 to 22 field goal shooting. So both Jaylen and Jason around 24 points in this matchup seems low. The total seems kind of low for this game in general, based on how efficient the Celtics were in their opener and how it looks like they're going to keep the pedal down. Now they can stagger Brogdon and Derek White and have some offensive flow for an entire 48 minutes. And Joe Mazzulla, I mean, at least through one game, showing that he knows how to coach guards. I mean, that is what he does, and that's what he had been doing as an assistant. So Jaylen's going to be aggressive for sure. He loves to set the tone in these types of games, and so I like his scoring here, and I think we like the Celtics at a pretty modest spread if you can get that -2.
Yep. I do like all of that. I think there's going to be a bit of a regression for the Heat, at least against the expectations. I mean, they just came first to end the regular season last year, and it's not going to be the case this year, in my opinion. They already lost to the Bulls, a Bulls team that I think we're also a little bit down on, but I definitely went under on Miami's totals there. The defense, I think it should be fine, but I mean, PJ Tucker is got to be somebody that you're going to feel the impact of him not being there anymore. And one of the guys that is going to feel a positive impact without him there is Jaylen Brown on the other side, without somebody like that to deal with. So yeah, I think he's continuing to just upwardly trend on that trajectory of his, and so is Tatum. So maybe we should feel better about over on the wins for the Celtics than most people were feeling if Joe Mazzulla is not going to come in and be too much of a detriment compared to Udoka and how he was. I think they're totally fine this season. So I'm actually going to segue directly into something that I think is relevant here in the same game, Tyler Herro, and I'm going to go under on Mr. Herro. I know he had a pretty nice first game there entering the starting role, did get about 35 minutes in that game, and last year was averaging closer to about 30 to 32. So we'll see if entering that starting lineup really helps him in terms of getting that usage rate up. But I'm still not really feeling great. I wouldn't feel great about him hitting his props against the Celtics as he did not last year. 10 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, averaged those in 3 games versus them. So I'm taking him under 20 points here. 19.5 points is actually even money on DK. If you wanted to buy a point and get it at like -115 for him to go under 20.5. fine with that too, if you wanted to add that to some stuff. But I just feel really good about him going under as well. I'm probably going to hit myself with I'm going to hit the under on the points, rebounds, and assists combined at 28.5. He had a few games against the Celtics last year with some nice like rebounding totals and such, but I think his role in the offense is just so obvious at this point, which is like score, score, score. We didn't pick up another scorer in the offseason, like is what our roster really needed to get over any kind of hump from last season. I think they definitely needed one more scorer. Like Bam Adebayo cannot be your third scorer. Essentially, like he's okay as a center for on offense, but he's in there to do other stuff. And obviously, if he's not going, if your top three players, one of them is Bam, who's more defensive minded, you need another sharp shooting scorer out there, and they just didn't get that. We'll see what Jimmy Buckets is able to do in this season as he continues to get older. But I just don't like the numbers for Herro and the expectations that are on him right now. 20.5 PRA. He's just not going to get all of those things against Boston, who was the best defensive, the best 3-point D in the league last year, which is how we know that Miami needs to scoring about the fifth highest percentage of points off of 3-pointers last year was Miami, and probably going to continue this year as well. So just got to go under for Tyler.
It makes me a little nervous though. What you keep talking about is how defined his role is and how the Heat don't have any other scorers. Well, it seems like he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. And I know the Celtics have been disciplined against pick and roll, but James Harden got his in the pick and roll, and he had the ball in his hands a lot in that opener. I'm more personally trying to attack Herro's defense because he is a turnstile on that end, and that's why I like Jaylen Brown. But I'm not willing to take the over on him either. I just say I would throw some caution on that one. And go C's for sure. But looking at Washington here and the Bulls, I think Kyle Kuzma's a little undervalued here. The assumption might have been that his stats were inflated last year because Beal was out, Porzingis was out for a lot of the time. I mean, Porzingis isn't a guy that's going to command a lot of usage. Bradley Beal looks like he wants to kind of fit in rather than stand out as a superstar. After getting that supermax, he probably wants to bring his teammates up. And so enter Kuz as a pretty high usage guy who's in that span since we turned to 2022, averaging 21 points and 9 rebounds per game on 28% usage. Started off the year nicely with 22 and 13, and his points and rebounds is at 25.5. After going 35 in the opener. His points at plus odds at 17.5. I like that as well. In 2 meetings against the Bulls, as a member of the Wizards, he's averaging 25 points per game, shooting 54% from the floor, and averaging 13 boards per game. Chicago looked a little better defensively here to open with Patrick Williams and Alex Caruso out there, but this is still a team that really struggled to guard inside the arc last year, that really struggled rebounding down the stretch. And if DeRozan isn't cooking the way he was in the opener, then there will be more rebounds to go around for this Washington team, and for Kuz to grab those as an athletic 6'10" guy who flies in from the wing to help down there.
Yep. I mean, yes to everything Kuzma this season as well. I mean, when Brad Beal actually played last season, Kuzma was, his second mate, his running mate there. And he was great. Like you said, about 20 and 9 or his averages for a big, strong guy who never gets credit for as being as good at rebounding as he is, which is probably why I was able to steal him in fantasy as well. But I love everything for Kuz whenever, especially when they're at full strength. And he's such an integral part of all of what they do in terms of getting out and running and being able to score on the wing and defend the wing like he does. I think that especially, KCP gone as well, you're going to see a lot more ops for him this season. And he's going to keep delivering and keep making the Lakers miss him. Let's finish things off here with a guy that, Ben Simmons. I don't know, is it fair to take an under on his points? He had 6 in the first game, but he had 3 shot attempts. And I think that's why we are also looking at, if he's still not willing to put the ball up in any capacity, then I'm going to go ahead and feel good about under totals for him on his points. It's hard to really use recent history for Mr. Simmons, as really fuel for why I would make this bet. Just because, it's been basically 2 seasons since we've really seen him on the floor playing, and we've never seen him in this environment without basically just not playing next to Joel Embiid and the slew of the cast in Philly as he was for so long. So 9.5 points, minus 125 on DK. I know you also mentioned minus 425 for him to not have a double-double, and you almost feel better about him not having a double-double because he's not going to get 10 points over any of the other stats there. So I'll go with the points there. Minus 125 on DK, obviously indicating it's a pretty likely bet here at under 10 points for Mr. Simmons.
Yeah, he had 4 points in his debut, and 6 fouls. That's where he got the 6 number.
Apologies.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point he'll regain his rhythm. It doesn't seem like it'll happen in this matchup, though, against Toronto's uber-sized wings, that they're not going to let him just walk into the paint. They're not going to – somebody who you literally don't have to worry about on the perimeter than trying to knife through a bunch of lengthy guys and get his buckets in the paint. It definitely seems unlikely. That's why it's at minus 125. That's why FanDuel's giving you closer to even odds for him to go under 8.5 points. So – I think worth hitting his under at least one more time here until we see Mr. Simmons be willing to play offense.
Absolutely. And that is all the time we have for you guys. And this one, don't want to drag out the Ben Simmons slander here too long. So I'll go ahead and just end the show with that. Definitely want to make sure you're liked and subscribed to the page. Continue to follow along with us, bringing you these player props, looking to stay hot on them each and every weekday. So until we see you next, happy betting.